It is my pleasure to introduce our very first speaker today. Ava O'Toole is a 22-year-old economics and communications student at Wilfrid Laurier University. She loves being active and has a passion for running, writing, and being involved in her community. In January of 2019, Ava's world turned upside down when she was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. She gained hope during her darkest hours from reading an article that featured LLSC spokesperson and Olympic athlete Max Perot. Max had the same type of cancer as Ava and was refusing to give up. Now, in remission, Ava is using her voice to advocate and pass on that same message of hope and resiliency to others. As this year's Light the Night honored hero in Ontario, she is hoping to make a difference in lives like her own that have been impacted by a blood cancer. Ava, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Ashley, so much. And hello, everyone. I'm so honored to be here with you today, and I really just want to say thank you for being here, for coming out. It is a time of uncertainty, but this is something that's much bigger than me and you, but it's about both of us together, and I can't tell you how much it means to me. As Ashley mentioned, in January of 2019, I was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. I still get chills when I think about that date, January 24th. It was the day when the excruciating pain that I endured for several months in my back, my chest, and my stomach finally overtook me. I fell apart, totally and completely. It felt like someone had just poured rubbing alcohol into an open flesh wound, and I could feel it trailing through my body. It started in my shoulder blades, and it radiated across my abdomen and into my legs and fingertips. I was burning alive from the inside out. I was wheeled by ambulance from my school gym to the ER, and not even the most powerful of narcotic medications, injected directly into my arms and legs, relieved my pain. My doctors were in shock. I was admitted as an inpatient, and after undergoing several medical tests, and amidst the continued steady dose of powerful opioids, my pain was explained to me in graphic detail. I was seeing 3 of everything, and my parents were in a different city when I learned about a mass in my chest and fluid around my heart, both pressing against all of my nerves and causing my pain. It was cancer, blood cancer, stage 4B Hodgkin lymphoma, unfavorable symptoms. After being diagnosed with cancer, my future became so uncertain. What was I to do? I started to look to my past, at all of the lessons I learned from all the people I loved, who I watched fight deadly diseases with grace. I tried to hold on tight as I stepped into my own uncertainty. But for 6 months, I struggled with the wrenching emotional and debilitating physical side effects of chemotherapy. I was bloated, I lost my muscle and my strength, and I lost my hair. But really, the physical part only seems severe until you're far enough along to face the emotional wrath of survival mode. 1 month in, I started to face night terrors and hallucinations, and by month 4, I forgot how to place my fingers on a keyboard. I couldn't socialize for the life of me, or even focus enough to watch TV. Most of all, I couldn't find the words to do the thing that I loved to do the most, to write. I slowly lost my ability to think, to process information, and ultimately, to be me. I learned that living with cancer means respecting death in the same way that you respect the water when you learn how to swim. My only choice was to accept the uncertainty of my reality before the choice was taken away from me. So, I grieved my own death and let go of the pain that came with it. I became indifferent toward life and living until my happiness and zest for life faded away completely. My grieving period was time sensitive. It relied on the short spurts when I could think, which became fewer and farther apart as time passed, until they were gone. I held on to the little things that I could do as I slowly slipped away, knowing just how little they were, but hoping that they might have an impact. I went to the gym after every one of my treatments, where I napped more than I worked out, and I drank 8 glasses of what tasted like saline and metal every day, water. In my own little world, I was the reason that I was exhausted and nauseated. I ran 3 to 5 kilometers daily, including the day of treatments. Typically, I was covered by my own vomit by the time I finished, but it didn't matter to me. I knew that I owed it to the people who battled cancer, who couldn't move or get out of bed, and who still smiled, to do my part because I still could. My actions would be carried with respect for the people whose battles I watched and learned about. They inspired me. Above all, I think the hardest part was realizing how horribly my illness was hurting the people that I love, and how much more it would hurt them if I died. I was angry. I couldn't make it better. My parents are the most loving, supportive people in my life. They are my champions, and they always have been. But as I battled cancer, all I could see was how much I was hurting them, even as they smiled, laughed with me, and loved me. How do you console your parents knowing that you could die and that you can't give them anything to change it? There was no coming to terms with that. There was only shutting down. I pushed them away as hard as I could. I was so afraid, but I didn't want them to see my fear or negativity. I didn't want anyone to see it, so I overshadowed it with constant positivity. But I had 2 now very close friends who previously battled cancer and understood. They stood by me. Harrison and Mitch were open with me about their cancer battles as I faced mine. They helped me through everything. In 2013, at age 15, Harrison was diagnosed with a brain tumor that almost killed him. 90% of it was removed during a major operation, and 10% of it remains attached to his brainstem to this day. I met him in 2016 by fluke at university, and last year we started chemotherapy treatments within 1 day of each other. He successfully underwent his 8th brain surgery while I underwent my final treatment. We held each other and hugged in his hospital bed afterwards because we made it through together. Harrison called me after every one of my treatments, even as he faced his own. And early on, when I began to lose myself, he reminded me that I always had a choice: to adapt to my new normal, to get back up, and never to stop. Just like him, I wasn't done, and he made sure that I didn't forget it. In November 2016, at age 16, Mitch was diagnosed with a rare and serious form of acute lymphoblastic leukemia. When I was diagnosed with lymphoma, he was in remission. We met in 2018 through his cousin and my close friend, Jack, who I met in the bar line at university in 2017. When I was diagnosed and Joel told Jack, he told Mitch, who he said would be able to help and understand. He was right. After having met me twice, Mitch became a person I could turn to always during my battle. When I was bloated and I couldn't look at my reflection through my mirror, which I taped because I didn't want to see it, and when I shaved off my final strands of hair, Mitch saw through cancer. Still a princess, he always said. 2 years into Mitch's remission, his cancer has relapsed. He was chemotherapy resistant and had to fundraise to have a chance to live. He has fought for his life twice and is currently recovering from his 2nd bone marrow transplant. Harrison and Mitch both knew much more about what I was going to face than I ever could have fathomed when I was diagnosed. They saw right through the mask that cancer forces you to wear. I could always be open with them, completely unfiltered, even when I couldn't think straight. I'm so grateful, but I also feel a lot of pain, knowing that their ability to help me came from their ongoing battles. They celebrated my remission with me, even as they continue to face their battles now. This is who they are. The biggest gift you can give to the people who care is to let them help you. I let them help me, and now they are my reason to continue to push forward. You are left with a lot of trauma after surviving cancer, and yet you are still one of the lucky ones. I faced PTSD for months. Life was handed to me on a silver platter after I finally came to accept the worst. I was dumbfounded about how to take it. It was like trying to find the shore after being dropped in a boat in the middle of the ocean without a paddle. I had to come out of the indifference I learned in survival mode and remember how to feel again. When you land in a place of indifference and face what might be considered the worst of adversity, it takes something even worse than that to wake you up. But how much worse can you get than battling cancer and then PTSD in a remission, not knowing how to live? I learned my answer 2 months into my remission in November, when Mitch's deadly cancer relapsed, and I felt fear for the first time in nearly a year. Remission was not guaranteed, and it would be fought for. I was barely coming out on the other side, remembering that we were supposed to be healthy together, Mitch, Harrison, and me. And then all of a sudden, Mitch could die. The emotional wrath felt like carrying a sword by its blade. My hands bled as I gripped it tightly, and I felt the pain in my core, but I wasn't letting go. It is the sharpest double-edged sword I have ever carried, and likely that I ever will. But feeling fear rather than indifference also meant I had something to lose. It meant I had something to live for, and someone else never to let down. He and Harrison are my why. They have taught me that the ability to feel fear comes with the ability to wonder. They give me hope. I want to thank LLSC for giving patients like me a paddle, a map, and a stronger boat so that we can get back home to who we are, to what we love, to who we love, and ultimately so that we can become a strong voice with hope for others and help them back to the shore too. We do it together. I'm speaking to all of you with the zest for life and the passion for what I believe, which I once lost, and it is my ultimate honor to be here today. But I also know that my strength and my voice came from my community and their fight for me. They made me feel less alone, and they gave me a chance to pay forward my gratitude when I fundraised for Light the Night last October. That gratitude could not have been paid forward without money or fundraising. No, money can't buy happiness, but it does buy lives, and it is the only way to invest in new research. If I was going to live, I had to be part of that push forward. My community was my voice when I didn't have one, and now I'm here. My voice is strong, stronger than it's ever been, and it's because of those people who stood by me. They paved my path. Each of you is here today because you also have a community, and that's where it begins. So, why is it important to keep supporting the blood cancer community? Because cancer doesn't stop because of COVID-19, and actually, in a lot of cases, it makes it even more difficult for those who are still battling. We think that we're just one person, but it's greater than you, and it's greater than me. We are a community of strangers who feel the same way. That's why we're here. We all know that when you can't see the light, you have to become the light. That's the only way you're going to get through everything, no matter what end you face. Our determination defines the resolution, hope, and resilience of thousands of people who fight individually together. You are here today because, like me, you believe that seeing one smile, even if it's for a split second, is all that it takes to know that you've made a difference. I am only one face, and I have shown you two other faces. One who was meant to die but didn't. Instead, he learned how to walk and talk again from scratch, and he marches on with cancer for an 8th year. Harrison will continue to undergo operations yearly. Another one who is here because of new last chance trials and drugs and the support of his community to fundraise. He is barely out of the woods and will continue to be surrounded by trees for a second time. Mitch knows that his war may not be over. And one who is the lucky one, because she lives with residual trauma, but it means that she's no longer fighting for her life and is well enough to feel fear. I watch and live with knowing the people I love face far worse. Harrison, Mitch, and I are 3 of hundreds of thousands of faces who push forward because of your fundraising efforts. Research is the only way we will ever see changes in the number of people who are living and cured. Kudos to researchers. They work tirelessly in a state of plateau for years, until one day there's a new breakthrough. It just takes one. We stand behind their fight for us, We stand by the thousands who can find peace in knowing that our community is behind them and that we won't stop fighting for them and others like them, even if they don't make it. Peace and hope, they are the ultimate effects of fundraising for all parties. Those who live, those who die, and those who remember. That is why I am here today. It is about us. And sometimes the bravest thing that we can do is to step into uncertainty with all of our certainty alongside the people who are forced to without that choice. And when uncertainty feels uncomfortable, remember the fighting smile behind your why. Each of us has one. Cancer does not stop, neither do we. Thank you so much.